Jobs are back, but prices are still too high. COVID is down, but gas prices are up. Our work isn't done.
Soaring inflation showing few signs of easing up, a stubborn economic and political problem for President Biden.
It's never been this high.
Gas prices averaging a whopping $5 a gallon for the first time. The U.S. stock market tumbling into bear market territory, and the cost of consumer goods rising at the fastest pace in 4 decades.
So I have a plan to bring down the cost of gas and food. It's going to take time.
The president traveling to Philadelphia today to once again address those economic issues. Biden in part blaming the war in Ukraine for record high gas prices.
I'm doing everything in my power to blunt Putin's gas price hike. Just since he invaded Ukraine, it's gone up $1.74 a gallon.
As well as Republicans in Congress for opposing his legislative agenda.
The problem is, Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop my plans to bring down costs on ordinary families. The fact is, Republicans in Congress are still in the grip of the ultra-MAGA agenda.
Biden also trying to highlight some of the bright spots in the economy.
Since I've become president, we've created 8.7 million new jobs in 16 months, an all-time record. Our unemployment rate is near historic lows. 3.7%.
Still, a year and a half into the Biden presidency, the reality growing increasingly clear. Inflation is still far from abating. Last year, Biden and other top officials had incorrectly predicted that high prices would be a passing phenomenon.
By the way, talk of inflation, the overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down.
Biden insisting in recent days that he will give the Federal Reserve ample room to do its work.
I'm not going to interfere with their critically important work.
The central bank now poised to increase interest rates by 0.75 of a percentage point this week, marking the biggest single hike since 1994.
Now, it just gives you a little sense of how important it is for the White House to try to lower gas prices, that it's now announced that the president is going to be traveling to Saudi Arabia, of course, one of the biggest oil producers in the world. And the president, the White House confirmed, is going to be meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman while he is there. Of course, this is so significant because of some of the past statements that we've heard from this president about wanting to make Saudi Arabia a pariah state, wanting it to pay a price after the gruesome murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The president now getting a lot of criticism and a lot of heat for this decision. Some Democrats even saying he might want to reconsider and not go on this trip at all. Jake.
MJ Lee at the White House for us. Thank you so much. The Federal Reserve's monthly meeting kicks off today amidst sky-high inflation. And now some investors are growing increasingly worried that the Fed might do something it has not done in nearly 3 decades. CNN's Rahel Solomon joins us now live. And Rahel, the issue we're talking about isn't necessarily the possibility of raising interest rates. It's the Fed doing so by 0.75 of a percentage point. What would that mean for Americans?
Well, essentially, Jake, it means that the cost of borrowing has gone up, and not just for us consumers, but also American companies and businesses, and that eats into their profits. But for us consumers, yes, that means the cost to borrow for practically anything is going higher. Credit card example is a great example. Student loans, car loans, and mortgage loans. Let's take a look at mortgage loans. The average 30-year now hovering around 6%. Jake, last Thursday, you and I on this very show spoke about the average 30-year hitting about 5.3%. So that gives you a sense of sort of how dramatically rates have risen in just a very short period of time. And then consider the fact that in the beginning of this year, rates were closer to 3%. So a dramatic spike in mortgage rates, but really all across the board with the Fed raising rates. And I should say, that's exactly the point. The Fed is trying to curb demand. It is trying to curb spending. And that's what raising rates do.
Yeah, let's talk about that because our viewers might be confused. The Fed raises interest rates, makes things more expensive. How does that help lower inflation?
It does appear a bit counterintuitive. So the idea essentially, right, is that we have a supply and demand imbalance. We have too much money chasing too few goods. And the Federal Reserve can't do much about supply chain issues disrupting supplies, right? But what it can do something about is the demand for goods, right? And so it's making the demand, it is hoping at least to sort of curb demand by making borrowing more expensive. I mean, just think if you were paying more for a mortgage right now than you were last year, maybe you'll rethink, one, perhaps buying the home, but maybe you'll rethink going out to eat. Maybe you'll rethink going shopping. And so the idea is hopefully to sort of cool the economy, and the hope is that they can do it sort of gently and gradually without sort of a screeching halt.
And Rahel, today, new data showed that the producer price index, the PPI, remains uncomfortably high, over 10%. The PPI is another key inflation measure. Explain how it affects what we pay at the store.
It's a key inflation measure, Jake, but it's one that doesn't actually get a lot of attention because this is inflation essentially from the perspective of producers, right, or factory level inflation. And so the idea, however, and the reason why it's very important today is because what we see here tends to trickle down to consumers a few months down the line. We know that what companies are experiencing, they tend to sometimes pass off to us consumers. And so the idea here, lending some support that there may not be relief for inflation and for consumers in the near term. This is exactly why Mohamed El-Erian, who spoke on CNN this morning, a well-known, respected economist, said that he sees consumer inflation hitting about 9% in the next few months. Certainly not something any consumer at home wants to hear.
No, not at all. Rahel Solomon, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Let's discuss this all with Matthew Slaughter. He's the Dean of Dartmouth College's Tuck School of Business. He's a former member of the Council of Economic Advisors under President George W. Bush. Matthew, thanks so much for being here. So President Biden has been saying inflation's a top priority for him to tackle since the beginning of May. The reality is Americans continue to face record high gas prices, massive inflation, higher prices on everyday goods such as groceries. What could the president do right now that might actually lower prices?
Well, one thing he's already done that's important is allowing the Federal Reserve to do its job. So as Rahel was just rightly saying, the challenge for the U.S. economy right now is that aggregate demand has been growing much more than aggregate supply can be growing. So what the Fed's trying to do by dramatically raising interest rates is to raise the cost of borrowing to households and to businesses, and thereby to cut into household spending, to cut into capital investment by companies, and to cool the housing market as well. Those things will help lower aggregate demand. I think what's important also, what the president can do, thinking about energy prices in particular, one thing that hasn't been done quite as much is trying to stimulate domestic production as well. The energy revolution we've had in the United States, thanks to shale technologies, allows us to produce a lot of energy in the United States, much more than 10 or 20 years ago, let alone in the oil price shocks of the 70s. So let the Fed do its job. Think about domestic energy production. Those would be two things I would definitely start with.
Another idea that the White House has previously discussed as being under consideration would be President Biden lifting the Trump-era tariffs against China to help lower inflation. Biden, of course, has been, long throughout his entire career a union advocate. His speech today was at the AFL-CIO convention in Philly, a gathering of union leaders. Unions reportedly want to keep all the tariffs in place. How much of a difference would lifting tariffs make for the average American?
They would help a little bit. And I think, Jake, that's a great idea that you raised. I would add that to the list as a third one. I think a lot of the research has shown that those tariffs, however well-intentioned to try to help American workers and their families, the costs were borne precisely by American workers and families. Costs have been higher in a lot of the products that use intensively aluminum and steel and some of the other products that have been subject to the Chinese tariffs. Globalization in general has been part of what controls the cost of living from increasing as much. And that's been true for decades. The Chinese tariffs messed up with that. And I think that would be another important thing that the president could do quite quickly to allow some relief for American households.